Hoodie. I wanted to make a video about the Black Hawk Down documentary, but honestly, I struggled with how to approach it. I actually did end up making a video, but it was far too long and far too emotional, and I don't think particularly productive. Um, there was honesty in it, there was also a lot of anger, and that anger was real, but after reflecting, I don't think it's the best approach. I want my response to be productive and fruitful. Um, that's why I'm deciding not to talk about the documentary directly, and instead I want to address Somali storytellers and Somali survivors. To the survivors, I want to honor your strength and your resilience. I know revisiting these memories can be particularly painful, especially at a time like this when you don't get a choice over it. When a documentary like this comes out and you don't get to decide if you're ready. I want to acknowledge the courage it takes to carry these stories, not just for yourself, but on behalf of all of us as a people. I want to say that you're not forgotten, and that as storytellers, we have a responsibility to tell your stories with courage and compassion. I hope that we take care not to reopen wounds without offering support, that we protect those who share their stories with us, and that we ensure their voices are heard with dignity and care. To Somali storytellers, I think most of us already know this, but I just want to remind us not to rely on others to tell our stories for us, not to allow those who harmed us define our history for us. Instead, I want us to take care to center Somali people who chose to be helpers. I want us to highlight those who showed courage and compassion. In centering the helpers, I hope we highlight the doctors in Karan who turned a villa into an operating theatre to save lives. I hope we honour the people across cities and towns who took in patient overflows from hospitals as well as people displaced by violence into their own homes. I hope we celebrate the medical professionals who didn't ask what tribe people were from or what side of the conflict they were on in deciding to help them. I hope that we recognize those who risked their lives to uphold their ethics. I hope we recognize and celebrate the community led relief efforts that came through Somali people from the beginning. That before the United Nations or Red Cross even set foot in Somalia, we were already organizing our own relief efforts. These came through mosques, village committees, and community spaces. In 1992, most of the aid distributed was through Somali run feeding centers. This is a story of agency and self determination that deserves to be recorded and celebrated. We are not a people who need saving. We are not helpless. We're not hapless. We are an organized, compassionate people who who act upon their agency for their own good, for their own well-being, and for those of their neighbors. I hope also that we take care to amplify the different voices across Somali communities. The famine hit hardest in Juba and Shabelle. These contain some of Somalia's most marginalized communities. I hope that we also don't forget the agricultural communities in Beit Daba, as well as the people displaced by violence. Their stories are integral to understanding this period of our history, and indeed all periods of our history. And I hope that we take care to record all the different voices across our communities. I hope we approach those who lived through it with care, that we don't reopen wounds without being able to offer real support. Trauma is real and reliving it can be devastating. I hope we reject harmful narratives across the board. Western media loves to portray us either as helpless victims or as savage villains. It's one or the two. Films like The Black Hawk Down, this documentary, Captain Phillips, they reduce us to these stereotypes. These portrayals deny our agency, our humanity, and our right to sovereignty. As Somali people, we've always been very good at telling our own stories. That's one thing I love about us. And now more than ever, when other people are interested in telling and selling our story, it's time for all of us, no matter what your medium is, whether you're a poet, a writer, a documentarian, a filmmaker, an actor, a singer, whatever the case may be, it's time for us to step up and take that responsibility. I hope we take care to highlight the people who deserve to be highlighted in our community. People were facing famine, internal conflict, foreign invasion. They faced national armies, rebels, militants, warlords, and the biggest superpower of them all. And despite all of this, we showed incredible strength and staying power. I want us to honor that courage in the stories we continue to tell. I hope you understand why I'm taking this approach in deciding not to talk about the documentary directly and instead centering Somali voices. I hope we can reclaim our narrative. I hope we can inspire future generations with stories of resilience and hope. There's a lot of hope, but that's deliberate. There is a lot of hope. A final message to the survivors: your stories matter and your strength matters. Let's ensure that our history is remembered through the voices of those who lived it, survived it, and rebuilt from it. As we tell our stories, I hope we do with the care and respect that you deserve.